Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome. My name's Alison Stewart and I'm your host of this session of Cut the Crop. And today we're very fortunate. We've got a visitor from the UK, Rob Waterston. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
And he's going to be one of our guests at our biennial area field day. And so we're just going to have a chat to Rob and we're going to talk a little bit about what he does back in the UK. And hopefully you're not too jet lagged, Rob.
No, not too bad. Thank
you. That's good. So maybe just start off with telling us a little bit about the background of the farm that you're managing.
Yeah, so I manage an estate for a family. It's just over 1,000 hectares. We grow a mixture of cropping now. We've got some winter wheat, a little bit of oilseed rape, winter beans, and then we grow a whole load of cover crops in front of all the spring sown spring barley and spring oats. We've got no livestock on the farm. We bring a few sheep in, and we've gone away from ploughing. We're sort of strip till drilling, and we're trying a bit of direct drilling. So we're sort of we've moved away from intense. We sold the plough in 2012, and now we're doing sort of less to the ground. And our goal is to focusing on sort of soil health and biology, which we probably weren't doing when we were ploughing and just sort of boiling soil around. So we're sort of on a bit of a journey.
Yeah. So how big's the farm and where is it? So
we're just outside Newbury in Berkshire. So we're sort of an hour from London. We're sort of, west of London, and we're sort of an hour from Bristol. A lot of our corn goes down to the docks at Southampton, where there's export facilities. So we're about 40 minutes from there. So we've got the M4 motorway, cuts the farm in half.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which is, yeah.
That's interesting. Have you got an underpass or an overpass?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
But it's just, we've got that constant hum of traffic, which is, we get used to. But no, so we've got mixed soils, we've got some gravelly soils, we've got some, a bit of chalk, we've got some pretty horrible ground. So it's very, very tough on machinery. So hence, ploughing was an expensive operation, on tyre wear and wearing parts. So we're doing a lot less hours now on the tractors. But we are, it's been a bit of a journey.
So who started the journey? Did you come in and start it, or was it something that the owners were wanting to do?
We sort of, we moved away, we were sort of ploughing half the ground and bought a big sort of cultivator to do the rest, which worked quite well. And then we had a change. Our agronomist decided to retire. He was, the old school, very good agronomist. And then we had a new guy come in, and they had a slightly different. They would always ask you the question, why?
Yeah.
Why is it? Why do you think why is it getting poorly? Why are you doing that? And they sort of they would challenge me, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And we sort of decided, okay, and then listened to a few people and met a few farmers about focusing a bit more on the soil.
Yeah.
And that's what really got us going on our journey, really.
And I think that it's the same story over with so many farmers. I mean, not that they were mismanaging their farm, but they're recognising the importance of looking after your soil for, future resilience and sustainability. Yeah.
And also the government was starting to prioritise water quality, air quality. We've got a lovely chalk stream river runs through the valley, through the heart of the farm. And the chalk streams are very rare, crystal clear water. And so we have to do everything in our power to look after that, because it's a real asset to the place.
So how long have you been there?
So I moved in there in 2007.
Okay, so you've been there sort of about 10, no.
More than that.
No, 16 years.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing in that 16 years?
So I suppose we were growing all autumn sown crops. So the rotation was winter barley, oilseed rape, winter wheat. Really easy, really simple, and it worked, a treat. Yeah. But then blackgrass came in, and we had a resistance problem building. And then the final sort of...
as in resistance with the ag chems.
With the ag chems, yeah. So we couldn't control it in the winter barley. We could all we can do is a pre-M and a peri-M, and that was about it. But blackgrass was learning to, it's quite an intelligent plant. So you'd have this late flush of blackgrass in the winter barley, massive seed return. We'd then follow that with oilseed rape. The chemicals would work quite well in oilseed rape, but we get this late flush. It was growing, it was germinating in the spring, late spring, when you couldn't get the chemical. As the rape was growing, you couldn't get the chemical down onto the blackgrass. You cut the oilseed rape, there's all the blackgrass. It's all shed the seed. And then you go, so you've now got a massive seed bank, put winter wheat in, and you could stack all the pre and peri-M herbicides. Atlantis and Pacifica just don't work.
Okay. So what kind of impact was it having on yield?
Massive. And then...
But what does massive mean?
Down 50%.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In winter wheat.
Yeah. The reason that I'm saying this is because, of course, we don't have blackgrass in New Zealand, but we do have incursions of blackgrass, and we are having to spend quite a bit of time and money to eradicate blackgrass every time it comes in. And I just want our growers to understand why we're doing this, because if we allowed it in, it could seriously undermine our industry.
Massive. And the one thing that really hurt me and my pride was I think it was 2015, we had wheat in full ear, and it looked pretty good. And, we knew there was a bit of blackgrass out there. And then the blackgrass, what happens, it starts to come up above the crop, and it's sort of going, I'm here, We ended up spraying 20 hectares out. Yeah. And that's not good. No. I remember Dave on the sprayer saying, do you really want, he got the chemical, got the Roundup in the tank. He said, do you really want me to do this, Rob? Yeah. I said, Dave, we've got no option. Yeah. You've got to do it. I know. And I said, and I vowed then that's not going to happen again. Yeah. It has happened again. Oh, well, but we haven't quite cracked it. But
what's the strategy then?
Well, we will spray crops out.
Okay. It's that dramatic. Yeah.
And I would urge growers in this country, all the farmers in New Zealand, if you have a little patch of it, get out there, even with a knapsack sprayer, or pull it, and I think contractors, you want to insist they blow the machine off. If you know it's coming from a farm that's, don't let them on your farm until they've blown the thing off. Yeah. Well, I mean, the combines.
I mean, it's a biosecurity sort of issue for us. So as soon as we see it, we're in, and MPI are all over it, and, that paddock is destroyed.
We do a bit of contract farming for a dear old farmer who's 85, and he's a passionate farmer. Every day he comes out when we're doing all the work there, and he'll say to you, 1 year seeding is 10 years weeding. And he's bang on with that. Yeah, it's just a shocking plant. You won't get rid of it overnight. Yeah, it lies dormant. Some farmers say plough it in, but you've got to plough it really slowly. You've got to really invert the furrow, but it lies dormant. Yeah, and then you plough it up again in 5 years' time.
So you're sort of trying to manage it. What are the other things then that you're doing?
It loves soil in not great order. It seems to thrive in compacted soil that's got no biology, no life. It's just dead. It loves that environment. What we have noticed is when the soil starts to come to you and be a bit more friable, and it starts to process all the chopped straw and everything, kind of doesn't like that environment. And we're seeing last year, for the first year, we stack a pre-M and a peri-M, spend an awful lot of money on that. but we actually saw blackgrass dying for the first time.
Okay.
And we probably last year in our winter wheat probably had some of the cleanest crops we've had for some years. They weren't spotless, but I mean, there's machines now that come along and they'll sort of cut the heads off.
Yeah.
People are trying inter-row hoeing. So there's a lot going to slightly wider spacings. And then the reason for going to spring cropping is that you get another chance to kill it with glyphosate. Now, if you lose glyphosate, then we are in interesting times.
Yes.
I don't know what we'll do. So there's some schemes we have where they'll say, you can put like a herbal or a herbal 1 year herbal lay in, and you're allowed to top it. But blackgrass learns, you top it off, it just sends out some more guys. It tillers out vigorously, and they just get lower. It's such an intelligent plant to the point where the mower can't get any lower.
Yeah. Well, I think that you have convinced our listeners that we do not want blackgrass in New Zealand.
Don't let it in. Yeah. And you just need to be really ruthless about, if the combine guy doesn't want to blow the combine off, you say, I'm really sorry, you're not coming, because it's I forget how many seeds there are on one head. It's colossal seed return.
So let's talk about some of the other things then that you've been doing on farm to transition, to that more resilient sort of system.
So the big difference was learning to grow spring crops. So we've played around with different cover crop mixes. So now we've got I think it's a 5-way mix of cover crops. We go vetches, phacelia, linseed, buckwheat, and a radish. So we're looking at growing a big biomass above ground. And also we're looking to get some different rooting sort of systems, so they can sort of, the radish will try and address a bit of compaction. And then we're playing around with grazing it. So we used to graze it really hard with sheep, get some sheep in, but we found that if in a wet winter, the sheep can poach it too much. So now we think we graze a third, sort of trample a third in, and then leave a third.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll leave that through to the spring, and then we spray that off, and then we might move it ever so slightly. We've got a direct drill as well and a strip till drill, but some of our soils are not quite there for direct drilling.
Okay.
And we've had some disasters with the direct drill, just end up cutting a slot.
Yeah. And actually, it's really important to understand that direct drill, it's not like you can't just 100% go to direct drill, that, depending on your soil and
that's an interesting point, because there was a moment when everyone said, just grow cover crops and buy yourself a direct drill.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. And there were some monumental disasters in the UK, and we've got it wrong. And if you cut a slot and it's wet, and then it dries out, you get a very dry spring, the slot just splits open, and nothing. You get these terrible emergence, and then you get lets of blackgrass in, and then you've undone all the good you thought you'd done in one season. So, yeah.
I mean, it comes, and I try to explain this, to non-farmers and, to government agencies, that it's not one size fits all. There's different horses for different courses. Yeah. And, on a farm, you may need to plough, you may need to strip till, and then you might be able to direct drill. And it's understanding, what technology, what management strategy works for your farm. And
probably one of the most important things I have now in my truck is a spade and a fork, permanently digging holes and trying to assess soil structure. Okay, this is never going to direct drill. And the days, blackgrass is also done. The days we used to have, a block of, say, 200 hectares of wheat, that's gone. Our rotation is field by field by field. Yeah. So, we might just say, actually, you know what? I'm not risking putting wheat in there. There's just too much seed return from the spring crops. We'll do another break crop. And what's also the funding from government now seems to be going towards the environment a bit.
Seems? I think 100% is.
And they pay us to almost not grow food, grow daisies and flowers and I don't know where the food's going to come from, but but growing break crops is getting a real challenge for us because we've lost the neonic seed dressing on the oilseed rape. So we've got this big problem with flea beetle.
I thought they were going to bring the neonics back.
They've brought it back in sugar beet, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
but oilseed rape because it affects the bee health.
Yeah.
So when you drill oilseed rape now, it's a roll of the dice. Yeah. You could have complete crop failure. You can think you've got a crop look good going into the winter, and then comes out of spring, it just doesn't grow. It's full of larvae, and so there's an option now to grow a legume fallow for 1 year, and they pay you good money.
Mm. I know I was looking at some of the payments when I was in Scotland, and I was thinking, really? You're going to get like £500, a hectare to do this?
And you can stack it
that?
as well. There's other options you can stack on above it. So a lot of farmers in the UK are thinking, actually, maybe this is a way of cleaning up my farm. Mm. I might be able to get on top of blackgrass. It might just be sort of growing really poor break crops, which we grow winter beans. Well, they're a love-hate relationship. You might get one good year in 5. Yeah. You make any money out of beans. So, so that's one. We've maybe gone off a piece a bit, but that's.
I know, but it's interesting.
We're also trying to wean ourselves off fungicides. We're trying to wean ourselves off nitrogen because it's got so expensive. So we're trying to.
So what are you doing in those areas? Because they're 2 areas where we're spending a lot of time doing R&D, looking at, nitrogen use efficiency and, sort of like biological products, for pest and disease control. So
we're still using we're all liquid nitrogen, but we are now we use a foliar applied nitrogen, which is it's an amide nitrogen. It's more efficient. So every time the sprayer goes through the field, whether we're applying trace elements or fungicides, we can put this product in. So it's so you're tank mixing it.
Okay, right.
So that's a more efficient way of getting nitrogen into the crop. But we still see early on when there's less leaf area, we're still using a liquid nitrogen, which is not as efficient. No, just off a dribble bar system on the sprayer. But the efficiency is pretty poor.
Okay.
So we're looking at that. We're also doing leaf analysis. We're trying to address any nutritional imbalances in the crop so that the crop doesn't get poorly. It gets poorly, gets disease.
So are you doing quite a lot of, sort of monitoring of your soil N?
Yes. Yeah. And we monitor the NP and K soil analysis. We're also looking at a more detailed analysis now as well. Yeah. We're monitoring organic matter levels.
So you're doing variable rate applications?
Variable rate seed, variable rate P and K, variable rate nitrogen. Yeah. And we've got this massive database which we try and make sense of it, but it's.
Yeah. And are you finding that you're getting that efficiency coming through now?
Yeah, we certainly are. Our requirements for P and K are coming down as the soil is slowly improving and getting a bit more life to it. It's able to sort of abstract all the P and Ks there. Yeah. But what we've done with our farming is sort of lock it up. So we are mineralizing some more these nutrients. So we're hoping in a few years' time we won't require any phosphate or potash.
Okay.
We have had a history of sewage sludge or it's treated sludge, treated human waste basically, which is a brilliant product for boosting phosphate. It's got a little bit of nitrogen in. That's been good for organic matter. So, but we've got now to a level where the phosphate levels are getting too high, indices of 5, which is that can have implications locking up some of the other nutrients. So we're having to wean ourselves off that. So we're hoping to not buy any phosphate or potash in. Wheats were probably getting about 220 kilos of N. We're now down to about 180.
Okay.
So, and we have not seen a massive drop in yield.
So what kind of yields are you getting?
So our 10-year, or
farmers always want to know.
5-year average wheat yield is around the 10-ton mark a hectare. Yeah. oilseed rapes all over the place, just because we've actually had a break from oilseed rape. But last year, our rape did 3.6 tonne a hectare.
So the wheat is milling or
no
feed?
We can never get the protein levels quite good enough. And last year, with the massive hike in nitrogen prices, we just thought there's no way we're going to throw another load of nitrogen to try and get the protein levels. So the grain analysis, proteins are a bit down anyway, even for feed. So maybe we have slightly underdone the nitrogen.
Yeah.
So we may need to look at that.
Okay.
Spring barley's a range from sort of 6 to 7 tonne a hectare. Spring oats, similar
and
levels.
That's still going for feed?
That's malting.
That's malting.
Yeah, or exported to Europe. Yeah. Big demand for malting barley.
Yeah, and I noticed that up in Scotland as well, that was the predominant produce, and the contracts looked pretty
There's a
good.
Massive premium. And this year, huge premiums.
Yeah.
And then all the oats go for human consumption as well.
Yeah.
Although there is an interesting market opening up for oat milk.
Yeah. Okay.
But that has they prefer winter oats for that for some reason.
Okay. Yeah.
But we think spring oats compete better with black grass because they're such a sort of they really cover the ground, a bigger leaf area. They sort of swamp the black grass out better than spring barley. So, but unfortunately, the spring oats don't get the premium that spring barley does.
Yeah. So, what about your fungicides? How are you managing to reduce your fungicides?
So we're not putting any T0 or T1 fungicides on the wheat. We're just favouring a nutrition program, so an intense treatment of a raft of trace elements, and some bit of biological stuff as well goes on to sort of feed the microbes in the soil, because they hopefully sort of process all the stuff in the soil.
And how are you making a judgment about which ones to use? Are you trialling them out, or are...
Well, we do tissue analysis.
Yeah, okay.
So, and Ben, the agronomist, he can go, so that's a classic sign of magnesium. Magnesium's a big one for us. Our soils are really short of magnesium, so that's a mainstay of it. But we're putting a lot of silicon on now. There's a whole raft of them go on. It's a bit of a tank mix.
Yeah.
But we buy it in big IBCs, and so it's quite easy just to couple up the pipe. And so the days of it's a very different. The spray shed is now a very different feel to it than it was. More of a sort of a magic mix of stuff going in. So a bit of a cocktail.
That's right, but trial and error. I mean, you try one thing and a bit of it works and some doesn't, and you try something else. And I mean, that's what we're encouraging our growers to do, is to just keep trying different things, because trying to put out their generic recommendations about what biologicals are going to work in what farm is almost impossible.
And I would say most farmers now actually are asking the questions, do we really need to put this on? So we're trying to grow robust varieties with high ratings, so the days of growing, the ones that we would respond to fungicides, but they were filthy, are gone. So we're growing, just good. We're not very keen on new varieties. We tend to watch and wait to see how they perform, because so many of these varieties now year one they're great.
Yeah.
Year two they just go, don't they? So
exactly.
We're a bit old-fashioned in our variety choice.
Yeah, but sometimes it's good to be just, baby steps with wanting to change varieties, because I think we've all been sort of burnt by jumping on
Massively.
the bandwagon on new varieties. So you talk about being ambitious and wanting to be carbon neutral. Tell us about that journey.
So part of I'm a monitor farmer in the UK, so I forget how many, there's various monitor farms all around the UK.
And this is through the AHDB.
Through the AHDB. Yeah. And one of the first things they got me to do was do a carbon audit. So it's just a matter of entering. You need lots of data. Put all your soil analysis in, all your crops you're growing, how much nitrogen, how many kilos of, put all this into a platform. You say you've got, enter all your fields and your woodland, and it spits out a report saying, it gives you a baseline. This is where you are. So you put all your soil analysis in, organic matter levels in. Then over the next year, you do it again, and it then tells you, okay, well, yes, you've burnt some carbon, but you've also sequestered a bit through building up your organic matter levels. And we've got 190 hectares of woodland to fall back on, which without that,
it wouldn't work. No.
And no surprises. The big one is nitrogen. So if we can get ourselves away, so that's why we've sort of focused on trying to wean ourselves off
So when you do your
habit.
calculations, I'm really interested in this. I don't know if you can answer this question. Do you include the emissions associated with manufacturing the nitrogen as well as applying it?
You say you pick the product, and that's got a default.
Right.
So I'm relying on the calculator to take that into account. Yeah. And it also builds into an element of machinery manufacture. Yeah. Okay.
So it really is a proper emissions profile.
We did 2 different ones, and they were broadly similar. So until we can wean ourselves completely off nitrogen, I think we're in for a difficult to get to net zero.
Yeah, I think any really farmer would struggle.
Yes, but what did focus my mind was where we built organic matter levels up. The sequestration figures are quite big, even just by 0.2% in terms of how much it sequests. And that's what got me thinking about, okay, so we need to do all we can to keep building organic matter levels.
Yeah. So if you became carbon neutral, would you get a premium for any of your produce?
Well, we've also signed up to a carbon trading platform.
Oh, you have, right. And so you're actually going to...
We are being issued with certificates.
Okay.
Yeah, which might cause a bit of a stir.
Yeah, I mean, we are not in that situation in New Zealand, but I'm just interested to see how it plays out.
So we've been paid out so we signed up in 2021. That's right. Yeah. So we've actually had a payment for 21 harvest. We're just about to be negotiating our 2022 payment, and I've just submitted all the harvest 23 data. And then it has to be verified and go through a whole complex process to make sure it's a robust certificate. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, don't forget that the UK farmers have been subsidy junkies, and that's going. And that's been one of the reasons we looked at trying to sort of bridge that gap. Yeah. Because, it was a substantial amount of money we used to get every year.
Oh, I know. I looked at it. I couldn't believe it.
Farming. Yeah. Let's be honest. It was just...
Will the environment payments and the carbon credits make up for the...
Unless you decide, do you know what? I'm going to put half my farm down to the environment, then maybe...
Okay, but that is a sort of that just seems like a perverse outcome.
Most farms now have geared up their farming operation. They've got the equipment, the infrastructure to farm, and they want to grow food. Yeah. Yes. We just need a bit more. And I think there's a bit of a market evolving. Well, if we are doing all what you're doing, if you are supporting the environment, if you are reducing your nitrogen, if you are stopping pollution to the rivers, possibly some of the milling, the flour mills might say, actually, we like what you're doing. Here's a bit more, and then they'll shout about it on their packaging.
I was going to say they'll only do it if they can get a bit more.
And the poor old farmer will only get a little tiny bit, but there's a few. Some of the grain traders are now starting to talk to us saying, we'd like to know a bit more about you, what you're doing. Yeah.
It'll be driven by those big global food companies and the supermarkets. Yeah.
And which is really not. So, yeah, there's a lot of, it's a bit like the Wild West out there.
Yeah. But, I mean, are you still enjoying farming in the UK?
Yeah,
and is it still profitable enough for the owners of the farm to want to continue?
We've had to diversify. So there's a lot of other things on the estate going on. Because there's a big house that the boss lives in that needs looking after. So they've recognised that it's so they open it up to the public. We have visitors onto the place.
Yeah.
But it's a whole. But each business has to stack up.
So have you got into sort of like wind turbines or solar panels?
No, we haven't. We're in an area of outstanding natural beauty. So the planners are just like, you just bang your head against a brick wall.
Yeah.
And now that there's no, well, the government they wanted to change it, but there's pressure that there's no onshore wind farms being put up.
Okay.
They're all offshore.
Offshore, yeah.
Yeah. And only needs one person to object, apparently, and an onshore wind farm gets shelved.
Yeah.
So no, we've got no solar. So no, it's carbon was where we're looking at.
Yeah.
And diversification. Trying to get the pub and trying to engage a bit more with the public. We need to do that. We did an interesting thing. We grow these wild bird mixes, strips to feed the birds in the winter. We put a few sunflowers in one year. It was next to a footpath. Everybody stopped me and asked, "What are you growing in this little 6-meter strip?" And nobody was interested in the field of wheat next to it.
Yeah, sunflowers, that just attracts everybody.
And as they were walking off the field with the bunch of sunflowers.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, so I think we probably haven't been great at engaging with the end user in the UK.
Oh, and we're having exactly the same discussions in New Zealand, that we need to get the consumer to have a relationship with the farmer.
I don't think we've probably helped ourselves in the past. We've grubbed out hedges, and we've been portrayed as a not very nice, not very good. But we need to somehow get them on side, I think, to say this is what we're doing. This is why the countryside looks the way it does. Yeah. Managed, we are doing more for the environment. Yeah.
You're going to have some really interesting discussions with our farmers when you're out and about.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Honestly, there's so many similarities.
Is there?
With the challenges that you have. And it's really good that you've talked about the blackgrass situation. The difference is that, we don't get any payments from the government for anything. And so it is really challenging from a financial point of view to be able to make the changes that you're talking about because you've not got any sort of support coming along.
But I think we can support the environment and still grow good food.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to.
We just need a fair price for it.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is too much to ask.
Well, it's not. But unfortunately, the people that make those decisions don't necessarily recognise it at the moment. Yeah.
And I think that one of the worries is that if every farmer does do this, is there going to be enough money? And if you have a change of government, might have a different view.
Thank you very much, Rob.
My pleasure.
Yep. And thank you very much, listeners. Have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.